love. That was me.
What is going on, YouTube? Happy Monday! And yes, now we are finally going to stop teasing you and actually talk a little bit more about the 224 Valkyrie AK and show you some of the shooting and actually show you the day that we took it out on the range, zeroed it at 100 yards, and just walked it right out to 8. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the build philosophy and a lot of the, like, how we built it, how we put it together, some of the footage of, well, what we have, and basically just tell you, first of all, why. That's the number one question we're getting with this thing is, why the hell take what's supposed to be a pretty accurate intermediate rifle round? People are saying like, oh, well, 6.5 Creedmoor is better. Like, yeah, it's because it's 308. You know, it's a bigger round. This fits into a standard 5.45 magazine, which I actually think is pretty damn impressive if you think about it. This is a 10-round Vepr mag. It holds 9 rounds of 224 Valkyrie. After you load about 10 rounds in a full magazine, it starts to get a little bit weird with feed issues and stuff like that. But you can load up to 10 rounds in a standard one, but the shorter capacity magazines feed it flawlessly, which is hilariously, what would you call it? Serendipitous. Serendipitous. There's your Scrabble word for the day. Serendipitous. But the big question people come back to is why? Why the hell take an intermediate rifle round like a 224 that's supposed to be hyper accurate and put it in a platform that's not known for accuracy? That's exactly why I did it. I wanted to prove that the AK could reach out to 1,000 yards on this platform, like an intermediate rifle round, and that's where we want to take it next. It actually performed pretty well at 800 yards. There's some things we want to change. I'll get into that in a minute, but I think it is this rifle right here is 1,000 yards capable, and that's basically what we wanted to do. People saying, you know, the AK isn't accurate, can't hit the broadside of a barn at 300 yards, and all the diehard AK guys know that that's bullshit, but we really wanted to just take it to the next level and show what the platform was capable of when you build it right, use the right barrel, use the right caliber, headspace it properly, just when you actually take the time to treat it like a gun that's capable of being accurate. So that's the why. Now we're going to get into the how. Oh, by the way, I just want to point out the fact that I totally just found these Crye Precision pants, and they are comfy as shit. I could never afford Crye Precision pants, and I literally found them in a storage bin. So I'm like, oh, hell yeah. They're my size, and they're just super freaking comfy. Guys, I've never seen a tactical course in my life. I am such a non-operator. I thought a fucking 9 board was an internet forum, alright? So don't think I'm some crazy operator or anything like that. These are just comfy pants, and I just think it's cool as hell. So, just wanted to point that out so nobody called me like an operator poser in the comments. I'm wearing these because it's cold and they're comfy, and I found them, and it's awesome. So anyway, into the how behind the gun. So let me just talk about a couple of things about this gun, just right off the bat as far as what is on it right now. So this right here started life as an AK-224 Bulgarian kit. It has a Magpul MOE pistol grip, SLR Rifle Works M-Lock handguard, JMAC Customs front sight gas block combo GBC 13. You've got a KOP optic mount here. It's a rear sight block replacement that has a sliding and pinned optic mount here. And right now we have it set up with a side rail mount. I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. But we have a 0 Delta scope mount with a US Optics B17. This optic is a hoss. Thank you very much to US Optics for sending this out for us to do a little T&E with and really kind of stretch the platform. I'm very, very, very impressed with this optic. Frankly, I'm a little afraid to hold it because it is expensive and heavy. And speaking of heavy, that's another thing that I want to talk about when we're talking about what we're going to change on this thing to kind of make this as accurate as possible. So we were very fortunate in the way that the 224 Valkyrie fed already with the 5.45 magazines. That was pretty cool. But we still had a barrel problem. 224 Valkyrie AK barrels don't exist because there aren't any 224 Valkyrie AKs. So what we did is we took a 1x7 twist 224 caliber barrel and reamed the chamber out for 224 Valkyrie and turned the barrel down to my custom dimension. The rear sight block's a little heavier. It's a thicker barrel all the way down to about the gas block, and it tapers down a little bit, so it's not such a crazy adjustment there right at the gas block. And then it just kind of pencils out at gas block diameter for the rest of the barrel. So it's a totally custom barrel, totally turned it just for this project. The bolt itself had to be reamed out slightly because the 224 the Parrot casing of the 224 Valkyrie is a 6/8 special, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's a little bit bigger than a 5.56 or a 5.45. So we did actually have to mill out the bolt face. to be able to accept the cartridge. But it is an otherwise unmodified AK-74 kit with a custom barrel, and of course the custom barrel components and all the parts and everything we put on it. So all things considered, oh, and of course an ALG AKT trigger. They are phenomenal triggers, and this is probably what contributed a lot to being able to shoot it accurately, because AK triggers are kind of notorious for being kind of iffy, especially if you're trying to get good long-range accuracy. So the AKT really helped out with that a lot. So now, before we get into what we're going to change about this gun, let's go out to the range a week and a half ago and show you some of the stuff that we were doing out with this Valkyrie at Recondo Operations Group. And before we go out there, I really just want to take a moment to thank Dave at Recondo for allowing us to use this range. It was really last minute. I hit him up. I'm like, hey, I've got this experimental prototype AK. He's not even an AK guy. I've got this experimental prototype AK. I want to stretch out to 800 yards. And he dropped everything. A couple days later, we went out there to his place, shot it at 800 yards, and so you guys are seeing that footage now. I just wanted to go on record thanking Dave very much for letting us use his range. So without further ado, here's the shooting day. Alright, so we have it zeroed now at 100 yards. It's hitting pretty consistently, would you say? Yeah. We're going to take it out to the long range now, and we're going to see how some of these different loads perform, and we're also going to see how, if walking it out to 800 yards is an option. I'm starting to get a little giddy.
Set my clock about 6 inches out the center.
Low left.
Yep. Got it hit, set my clock on the edge of target.
Left side.
Yep. Yep, got on 12 o'clock, right above the bullseye.
Alright, so now we're ready to walk her out to 800. So we pretty much got it zeroed in. He was making consistent hits, center mass at 5. So we're going to walk it out to 8. Let's see what happens. Mike, you ready?
Yep, ready.
See what we can make happen.
Shooter ready? Spotter's ready. Alright, saw that one. You hit right at the base of the target on your left side. You didn't hit the steel, hit the ground, okay? So give me 5.5 and a slight favor right. Send it. You got a hit.
Boom.
No shit. Wait, I think there might be a hit on the 8 at bottom left.
Yeah, that's where it's at.
Yep.
Bottom, very bottom of the
bottom left corner. So we hit at 800. Let's see if we can get on the red in 800.
They got a
Nice.
hit at 6 on the about 2 inches up on the target. Got a hit 4 o'clock, about 2 inches on target.
Nice. Just below the third dot.
Yep. You're about a ½ inch out of red on the third dot.
Red.
Oh.
Red.
You're in the red?
2 o'clock on the red, about maybe an inch in.
Yep, you're in the bullseye. Oh. Counting 9 hits.
Sure enough. Yeah, so that was our experience taking it out to 800. I was pleasantly surprised. You know, not like I didn't expect it to actually do that, but there's always that kind of, nagging thought, like, okay, what if I didn't do the barrel specs right? What if, the platform really isn't capable of it? You kind of have those doubts. But it was really cool to actually take it out to 8 and see what it was capable of. The issues we were running into were not related to the gun as much as it was the mount. And it wasn't so much the mount's fault as it was using that mount with a heavy, heavy optic like this. This is a US Optics B17. This is like cream of the crop type of optic, but it's also very heavy. This right here is about, I think it's 31.3 ounces if I'm not mistaken. It's way too heavy for the diving board design of the KOP. This right here it's an interface where it's about probably 2 or 3 inches of steel rail with an aluminum mount. And so the long Picatinny rail we were using to hold this optic up, you've got a 0 delta mount and you've got the 31.3 ounce B17 at the very end of what basically is a diving board made of aluminum that is interfacing with steel. And because aluminum is softer than steel, every time we would fire, the vibrations from the barrel would make this move. And you just have these little, just the tiniest bit of play is what it started out as. Literally just molecules moving against each other. But every time it vibrated and shook and the round fired, it would get worse and wallow itself out. And every time it wallowed itself out a little bit more, you know, it would... The thing about aluminum is that it deforms and it doesn't go back to its original shape. It just deforms permanently until like somebody comes along and bends it or remachines it or whatever. The scope was starting to bounce. We actually ended up having to shim it halfway through just to try to get the accuracy. So the shots we got at 800 yards were with a penny shimmed under the dust cover.
That is some redneck shit.
It's suboptimal, I guess you would call it. And I'm a big fan of the KOP. Don't mistake this as me on SaberWorks, because they're great guys, great company, great mount. I live and die by it. But to use it for something that is supposed to be 1,000 yards capable with an optic that is probably several times heavier than what it was designed for was not really a good combo. So I can't really fault them for that, considering this is probably way outside of what they designed it for, but that was the issue that we were running into. And so you have issues with one of the issues with the AK is finding a good optic mount for it. The AK wasn't exactly designed to hit 1,000 yards, so there really wasn't a real need for that. But when it comes to putting scopes on AKs, what is typically used is the side rail. This right here is just some Amazon side rail mount. I don't think we're going to use this, but we've got one on the way that we're actually going to try to stretch out to 1,000 with. But basically what this does is it just slides on the side of the receiver and uses this lever to lock down into place. So this is tight. This is very solid. There's not really a lot of play on it. And I've sat here and dry fired this 100 times, and we can't replicate the scope bounce that we were getting with the long Picatinny on the KOP. So I think that's going to solve a lot of our issues with the optic. If we can just find a way to use this side rail mount and zero it that way, and hopefully retain zero, I really do think this gun is capable of 1,000 yards. So we're going to take it out there, and we're just going to see what happens, guys. I don't know. I don't know about the longevity of the 224 Valkyrie round. I don't know if it's ever going to get super popular, or if I'm not expecting to sell 100 of these guns. I just thought this was a cool project. This is something that I want to see people push the boundaries of what the AK can do, because I know the platform is more capable than people give it credit for. So that's really what this project came about as. And thank you guys so much for following along and watching these videos and everything, because your support really does make it possible for us to do stuff like this. So that leads me to the next point. We're going to be talking about Patreon, and just hear me out. I never was going to do Patreon for the videos because honestly, I do these videos for fun. I give my AdSense revenue to my camera guy and editor. I don't do these videos for money. I was doing this before I made any money with it, and I would do it 5 years from now making zero money at it. So I was never really interested in the Patreon, especially with the company and everything like that. I didn't feel right about it. But I started thinking more and more about projects like this. And I was thinking that if there are projects out there that you guys want to see, like people are talking about all sorts of different calibers and different projects with the AK, it might be a really interesting way to fund the R&D for projects that I know won't sell. A lot of the projects that you guys are really interested in seeing, like you keep asking for over and over again, I keep having to hate to tell you guys no, because I know there's no market for it, and I know like that's not something that would sell. So I'm not going to go into the hole doing all this, research and CAD and CNC machining and everything like that for something I know that I'm just going to lose a lot of money on. So I thought maybe Patreon is the way to compromise. So let me know your thoughts about that first and foremost. I want to know your thoughts about it, if that's something that you guys are interested in supporting. Or if that's just, maybe we go another tact with it. I'm not sure yet, but one of the things that made me think about it is I think a cool way to thank the Patreons for supporting us is when we do projects like this, giving it away to one of the Patreon supporters. And, have different tiers of support and everything like that for, and it's going to go entirely into R&D, entirely into making new guns like this that have never existed before. And I think it would be even cool to put a section on the website for a section on the Patreon for polls where you guys can vote on what project you want to see us do next. And we'll sit there and I'll invest the time. Guys, I have no problem investing the time for free to do the the design elements of it, to do the machining, the building, everything like that. It's just some of the other costs that I was trying to figure out a way to kind of compromise, and that's something that I came to. So this is going to be the first gun to be given away on our Patreon. That you will actually win this right here, this 224 Valkyrie AK, which very well could be the only one that's ever made. So that's pretty cool, I think. So if that's something you guys are interested in, I've got a link at the pinned comment and in the description. This is really just to gauge your interest. Let's see if this is something that we can do together. And of course, the more Patreon support we get, the bigger and better projects that we can do going forward. Somebody called the channel in the comments the other day. They said it's like the hacksmith for guns. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world because, of course, I'm a big fan of James. And we've actually talked before about doing a video together, like a collaborative video, which I think would be really cool. But that's really kind of the direction I want to start taking some of the R&D. Like now that we're winding down on the 50, and more on that next month, we really can start taking on projects like this that I think are pretty cool. So anyways, that's enough. I'll get off my soapbox. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel. And as always, I will see you beautiful motherfuckers next Monday. Thanks.